Hello everyone and welcome to today's edition of the Cheat Meal presented by Deep Fried Draft. My name is Brian Bosarge. Been a good little minute since we did one of these videos. I think I did a Senior Bowl preview video a couple weeks ago, but it ain't like I ain't been busy. Senior Bowl week was last week, and ending with the game on last Saturday with the South team winning 45-16. If you've been frequenting my Twitter or deepfrieddraft.com, you know that we had a daily practice recap, had a game review, had an article up. We're talking about risers and fallers. We're going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to go position by position for the Senior Bowl, talk about guys that I thought improved themselves, guys who I thought went down, and I'll do that from each position. So we'll get to that in just a second. I also encourage you, if you haven't already, or if you have and you just want to listen to it again, go back. You can find it at the Cheat Meal page on deepfrieddraft.com, or you can scroll through my Twitter page and find it, or my Facebook page, facebook.com/deepfrieddraft, and listen to the Grapico Roundtable. It was really fun to do. Had a good time talking shop with Scott Wright of DraftCountdown.com, Joe Everett of NFLDraftBible.com, and Pigskin Paul Gilmet of GBNReport.com. So go back and listen to that. Good time. Always love hanging out with those guys. We've done it every year now for 4, 5, 6 years now, where we just sit there and these Yankees can't get Grapico up there, and they love it when they come down here to the South. And so we just have a good time sitting around drinking Grapico, eating pizza, and just shooting the breeze about the Senior Bowl and the NFL draft. So go back and listen. That was really fun. 55 minutes of drafty goodness. So let's get to the big news of this week. It broke last night, or I think it was last night or night before last. The Washington Redskins have acquired quarterback Alex Smith from the Kansas City Chiefs and proceeded to sign him to a 4-year extension with $71 million guaranteed. Kansas City acquires a third-round pick in this year's draft and one of the better slot corners in the league, Kendall Fuller. This will signal the end of quarterback Kirk Cousins' time in Washington, and that will have a huge impact on the NFL draft, because one of the teams that you would expect to draft a quarterback in the top 10, top 15 area is now going to sign Kirk Cousins, and they're not going to draft a quarterback that high anymore. I also don't expect Washington to be in the quarterback market now, since you were spending $71 million on Alex Smith. Now, I expect them to draft a quarterback in the mid-rounds. And maybe one of the quarterbacks we're going to talk about from the Senior Bowl later might be a guy that they look at. So let's get to the Senior Bowl. The 2018 Senior Bowl is in the books, and like I said, it was a fun time, great time. You learn a lot being at the practices, especially some guys you don't see during the regular season. Like they had a lot of the FCS guys there this week. And you just don't get a chance to see those guys. Well, you saw them this week. And so some of them impressed, some of them did not. Let's start with the quarterback position, because that's what everybody wants to talk about. First of all, I want to talk about the top 2 quarterbacks there. Baker Mayfield from Oklahoma, Josh Allen from Wyoming. Make no mistake about it. Baker Mayfield was the best quarterback at the Senior Bowl going into this week. Baker Mayfield left the Senior Bowl as the best quarterback going into this week. And outside of Josh Rosen, there's not going to be there's not going to be a higher ranked quarterback on my board than Baker Mayfield. Josh Rosen's going to be my top quarterback. That's not going to change, unless it comes out that he has drastic nerve damage in his neck or something. That's not going to change for me. But Baker Mayfield's going to be number 2, and that's not going to change. Mayfield showed just everything that you saw at Oklahoma: accuracy, anticipation. Able to move the pocket. Just his leadership is crazy. One of the things that I noticed Baker Mayfield do, all the quarterbacks that were in front of him, Falk, Allen, and Tanner Lee, they were running their little drill. Well, then there's a line of players behind them. Baker Mayfield is behind those, doing basically like shadow drills, like they were doing like play action or whatever. Baker Mayfield was like almost mirroring everything they were doing behind it. He was congratulating every player on the team after every drill, just going up, slapping ass, hip bumping with Josh Allen after he'd make a great play. He's just a consummate team player. Yes, people are going to question his cockiness or whatever. I think that's horseshit. I'm not. I don't read into any of that crap. Baker Mayfield is one of the top quarterbacks and one of the top players available in the 2018 draft. Josh Allen came in with accuracy issues. This has not changed. The first 2 days of practice, Josh Allen was all over the place. One rep, he's ripping the ball 100 mile an hour into it. Receivers dropping the ball because he doesn't know how to take anything off the fastball. And then the next thing you know, he's throwing a ball to a back out of the flats, and he throws the ball out in the crowd. I don't know what he can do to fix this, but generally, if its accuracy is this bad in college, it don't get any better in the pros. I saw somebody throw a stat up on Twitter a few weeks ago, compared his accuracy numbers and then other guys that had played in the NFL. I can't remember the full list of names, but I know Kyle Bowler was on the list, and Jake Locker, and those are two guys I don't want to be on any list with if I'm a quarterback prospect. But Josh Allen's going to go in the top half of round 1 just because of his talent. The best case scenario for Josh Allen is a team a la Kansas City last year that traded up from the back half of the round, traded up, lets him sit for a year, maybe 2, figures shit out. Because if he goes to a team where he has to start right away, the team that drafts him, that coaching staff and front office, they're looking for work soon. If you expect him to come in and play in 2018. It ain't happening, folks. 2 other quarterbacks that caught my eye this week. They did well in practice. Kyle Lauletta from Richmond and Mike White from Western Kentucky, both from the South team, and they both excelled in the game on Saturday as well. Mike White had the first quarter, and he led a scoring drive, put up big time, threw some nice pretty balls downfield, and then Kyle Lauletta comes in the third quarter and almost doubled his output. I mean, it was crazy. But those 2 guys are a couple mid-round quarterbacks that I'd like to see get a chance to develop. As far as quarterbacks that were bad this week, I mean, Tanner Lee. I mean, he was just awful. He had like one okay day of practice, and then not so much. The game, he was terrible. Let's go to the running back position. I think the running back that made the most money this week was Kalen Ballage, the running back from Arizona State. Showed that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Showed he was one of the best, if not best, pass blocking running backs here this week. And he showed explosion running the football. I think Ballage moved up probably to the possibility of getting drafted in the late 3rd round area. Borderline top 100 player now is Kalen Ballage. A couple backs I thought that lost a couple spots. Rashad Penny, his biggest question coming in this week was, could he pass block? He can't. He flat out cannot do it. And he was terrible in that this week, so that scares me that he's only going to be able to be a 2-down running back. But he can also, he offsets out with kick return ability. So I still think he's a top 100 player, but I don't think he's a 2nd-round player now. The other back that disappointed me this week was Akram Wadley from Iowa. Showed up undersized. Didn't show up undersized, but I mean, he's only 5'8", 5'9", but weighed like 185 or something at the weigh-in. He's basically a stretch running back. He can't mix it up between tackles. Looked lost trying to pass block, and this not a good week for Wadley. If he's drafted, I think it's going to be late, probably 6th, 7th round area. Wide receivers that I like this week: DJ Chark, LSU, big home run hitter. I mean, he's a track guy from LSU. Another receiver that's going to be more successful as a pro than he was in college, because LSU has had crap quarterback play for years. But DJ Chark, he ran some polished routes this week, and in the game on Saturday got on top of some corners for big plays. Braxton Berrios, not so much. I mean, he's a tremendous. He's going to be I think a good slot receiver. His route running wasn't as polished as I thought it would be, but what he did show this week was some toughness and grit. He was hurt or got hurt at some point during the week. Most of the time, if you get any kind of minor injury, they shut you down. He pleaded with his agent to call Phil Savage and say, hey, I want to play. Keep me in this week. And he supposedly had to sign some sort of waiver or something to be able to not have the Senior Bowl held responsible for anything that happened. And he kept playing. So that's good on Braxton Berrios for that. Receiver I thought lost money this week, Alan Lazard, Iowa State. I was very high on Lazard, but now I don't see him being more than just a red zone guy. Go up and get it. Ran choppy routes, couldn't separate. I don't think he's going to be more than a 4.6 guy when he runs, maybe 4.65. But he's definitely a guy that, he still give you the red zone reps and can go up and get the ball. I've heard some people say maybe he puts on a little weight and moves to tight end. I'm not saying that's out of the realm of possibility, but Lazard I thought lost money this week. Offensive tackles, Tyrell Crosby I thought had a really good week at Oregon, solidifies himself as a top offensive tackle prospect here. But coming out of nowhere for me was Humboldt State's Alex Kappa. Had not seen him, had not heard of him until he got the Senior Bowl invite. Showed this week, showed himself very well at tackle until the game on Saturday, and then some speed guys got to him. But he showed me enough to think that I could draft him in the late third, fourth round area and have a developmental starter down the road. Brian O'Neill disappointed me this week from Pitt. He was always going to be a project, but he looked lost out there this week, and he's got a lot of work to do before he contributes at the next level. Brandon Parker from North Carolina A&T. He's a huge 6'7", 305, but man, he can't bend at all, and he got ate up this week by some of these speed guys, and it just was not pretty for Mr. Parker. As far as guards go, Isaiah Wynn, I think he's tremendously successful transition from tackle to guard this week. Before he got hurt late in the week and ended up not going to wasn't able to play in the game. Apparently he's been playing with a labrum issue in his shoulder, but practiced all week with this injury and was one of the best, if not the best, offensive lineman there. That's tough. That is double tough. Isaiah Wynn, I think, probably going to get in that late second, third round mix at guard. Austin Corbett played 97% of the snaps, offensive snaps at left tackle at Nevada. It's crazy. But he's got to convert inside to guard or center. Played both. He actually played all three positions this week, but man, he was a dominator inside this week in practice in the one-on-one drills. Corbett, I think, definitely made some dough. Another tackle to guard convert this week was Cole Madison from Washington State, and he was probably the worst prospect or worst player I saw here this week. Dude was bad. I mean, I'm not sugarcoating this. I mean, Cole Madison, I didn't see him win a rep in the one-on-ones this week. So, Cole Madison, not a draftable prospect for me. Centers, Scott Quessenberry, I thought showed himself well at the center position this week. Not great, but solid 4th, 5th round guy. Mason Cole from Michigan, a little bit of a letdown, moved from tackle to center, but lacked velocity on his shotgun snaps. Got beat a lot inside in the one-on-ones. I skipped over tight ends. Sorry. Thought the big winners this week, and he was there for like 30 minutes of practice. Dallas Goedert, South Dakota State. He beat a guy that I'm going to brag on later, Darius Leonard, in a pass route up the field so bad, I think he hurt himself on that rep. I mean, he shook Darius Leonard so bad on this route that I think he popped his hamstring. But the weigh-in, he won the weigh-in. I mean, I didn't think he was as big as he was. He weighed in 6'4", 260, and he can move like that. Crazy. Dallas Goedert's first-round pick for me. I also thought that Jordan Akins from UCF, he's an older prospect because he played baseball, but I thought Jordan Akins played very well this week. Showed the ability to make the catches and run a solid route runner. Had separation for a bigger player. Tight ends I didn't like this week. Ian Thomas from Indiana couldn't separate, dropped a lot of passes. Just a little very disappointed in Ian Thomas. Adam Brenneman also got hurt within the first 30 minutes of the first practice, but unlike Dallas Goedert, who could absorb that sort of thing, Adam Brenneman could not, because Adam Brenneman has a rap sheet of injuries that's a mile long already, and you get hurt 30 minutes into practice. That's a loss for me as far as Adam Brenneman goes. Let's kick it over to the defensive side, and let's go with edge rushers, and I thought Kamoko Toure, who had more sacks as a freshman than he did the rest of his career combined. But Toure was just a dominator off the edge, just killing the tackles with his speed. Same thing for Agbo Okoronkwo from Oklahoma. Just speed for days. But I think he's going to have to make that conversion to linebacker like Hassan Reddick did last year. But maybe hand in the dirt or standing up on the edge on third down, stand up wheel linebacker, the other two. Because I did see Okoronkwo carrying backs down the field in the past coverage drills with the linebackers, and he showed well in that area. So I think he can do that. The edge rusher disappointed me, and it's not so much that he disappointed me, but it's just the hype machine got so behind Marcus Davenport from UTSA that it's almost like if outside of him being Jadeveon Clowney this week, he was going to be a disappointment. And the 3 days of practice, he was constantly beat up by the tackles. And he didn't have a good week. Now, when the game hit, he was a friggin' nightmare. I mean, he was constantly beating the tackles from the south or the north team around the edge, forced an interception or forced a fumble, had a sack, and he also had a fumble recovery for touchdown. So he had a great game, but a poor week of practice. Interior defensive lineman. No player made more money this week, I think, at any position than Nathan Shepard, the defensive lineman from Fort Hays State D2 school in Kansas. Now, he's 6 years removed from high school. He started at Simon Fraser D2 school in Toronto. He's from Toronto. But man, if you just watch he was only at practice 2 days and then he broke a bone in his hand. But Jesus, he was just dump trucking people and dump trucking these guards and centers and just carrying them back into the quarterback. I mean, it was amazing. It's just awesome to watch. And then I saw on Twitter last night people sharing clips of him from games this season, and it's just he moves like a guy 50 pounds smaller than he is, and it's just amazing. I mean, Nathan Shepard. I mean, you like to see guys that are D2. How do they fare against bigger school players? And Nathan Shepard, whew, what a week for him. He definitely cemented himself from guy I'd never heard of to possibly a top 75. I could see Shepard in the second round once everybody gets their grades going. We'll see. Andrew Brown from Virginia, basically the opposite of Nathan Shepard. 5-star recruit out of high school, but just poor scheme fit at Virginia. But this week he dominated in practice, dominated in the game. Deshaun Hand, Alabama, another former 5-star prospect. Actually, he was the top overall player in his high school recruiting class. But he just kind of looked like he was going through the motions this week. He had some flash plays and then just some plays where you're like, where'd he go? It was the same way during the game. He was kind of there. That was it. But I still think Deshaun Hand's talent, a defensive line coach is going, hey, I can win with that guy. So you're going to see Hand go in the second, third round area. Linebackers. I talked about him earlier getting shook out of his shoes, but that was it as far as bad plays go for Darius Leonard the rest of the week. Leonard, the linebacker from South Carolina State, was amazing. He was sideline to sideline tackle, just sifting through trash, he can diagnose the screens quickly. He was carrying tight ends. Every tight end but Goddard anyway. He's carrying tight ends up the field, carrying running backs up the field. Just amazing in pass coverage. Great week for him. Same for Dorian O'Daniel from Clemson, a guy who I didn't have highly rated coming into the week, and he also left hurt after the second day. But O'Daniel was another one that had just a great first 2 days of practice. One of the best pass coverage linebackers I've seen in some time. And Fred Warner from BYU had a tremendous week and the game. Those guys I thought made money. Micah Kaiser from Virginia was solid, and he's just solid. That's who he is. I mean, he has tremendous production, but there's no wow with Micah Kaiser. He's just kind of there. But, I mean, he makes the plays when needed. But he's just kind of there. Nick DeLuca from North Dakota State didn't have a good week. Out of place a lot. Coaches constantly having to get on his ass. It wasn't a good week for DeLuca. Corners, guys that I thought made money. MJ Stewart, North Carolina, probably the best corner here this week. Isaac Yiadom, a guy I'd never watched at all coming in this week, but he really flashed as far as his coverage ability and definitely his speed. Speed's going to be his meal ticket. Michael Joseph from Dubuque. No buys for me. You like to see these D2, D3 guys come down here and see what they can do, but he clearly he's speed deficient. He has good ball skills, but if you can't get to the player, he gets separated from his man too much. If you can't get to him, it doesn't matter. If you got the best ball skills in the world, if you don't see the ball, it doesn't matter. Same for Demontre Wade from Murray State. FCS kid, I didn't see it with him this week. Constantly getting beaten one-on-ones. Didn't have a good game either. At safety, Trayvon Henderson from Hawaii. Tremendous this week in practice. Tackling machine. Very good range. I was impressed with him. Jeremy Reeves. I've made fun of his hand size all week because I think he's had the smallest hands I've ever seen measured in at the Senior Bowl. Under 8 inches, like 7.5-inch hands. I mean, my hand, you see this, I've measured my hand, it's 9 1/4. Barely over the NFL threshold for quarterbacks. Now, if you look at 9 1/4-inch hands that I have, now imagine hands 2 inches smaller than this, playing defensive back. But he did have an interception in the game and showed himself well in practice. So good on Jeremy Reeves. Disappointment here this week was Cameron Kelly. I had him as a corner coming in. He lasted at corner a day in practice. They moved him to safety, and that's probably where he's going to be in the NFL. Just doesn't have the speed to play corner. Special teams players, I was impressed with Michael Badgley, the kicker from Miami. Didn't think he had the kind of leg he does, but showed good leg from 50+. And Tanner Carew, the long snapper from Oregon, like 5 tackles and down 2 punts inside the 5 during the game. Just great effort there from Tanner Carew. And it was great to talk to him, too. He's one of the 30 interviews I had from the Senior Bowl that you can check out at deepfrieddraft.com. What's coming up at deepfrieddraft.com this week? Well, right now, up at the site, all position rankings have been updated to reflect the Senior Bowl. So you can check those out now. Tomorrow or Saturday, I'm not sure yet, but the top 100, my top 100 big board will be updated, and it's expanding now to 300. So we're going to have 300 players listed on the board coming up this week. A couple of DFD recipes in the works. Going to work on Darius Leonard. I want to see if what I saw at the Senior Bowl is backed up by the tape. So we're going to check out Darius Leonard, the linebacker from South Carolina State. And also coming up in the next week or two, we're going to do a DFD recipe on Baker Mayfield. We're just going to get our opinion out there on him. I think you already know what the end of the story is, but let's go from beginning to now. We'll see how that goes. And next week, after the Super Bowl is completed this Sunday, new mock draft coming out next week. Speaking of Super Bowl, I'll go on record. Super Bowl, New England wins 24-21, but I hope the Eagles win. Not a big Patriots guy, but Eagles win, or Patriots win 24-21. That's going to do it for this expanded edition of the Cheat Meal where we're talking about the Senior Bowl. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Deep Fried Draft. Facebook.com/Deep Fried Draft. Search YouTube for Deep Fried Draft. Hit subscribe. And we always constantly updated when these videos go up. Also, download the Bumpers app in the App Store via iOS and listen to and subscribe there and listen to all the podcasts that we uploaded, including the big 55-minute one from last week. And that's going to do it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Later.